Hi Bloomers, it's Wendy, and I'm thrilled to welcome you back to another episode of Bloom with Flores. In this episode, we'll celebrate the beauty and growth of friendships. Whether you're tuning in for some uplifting stories, insightful conversations, or just a dose of feel-good vibes, you're in the right place. So grab your favorite cup of tea, a bag of popcorn, settle in, and let's dive into the wonderful world of connections, laughter, and the blossoming friendships that make life truly extraordinary. Let's get started. I'm joined by my dear friend Bertha. I'm absolutely delighted to have you join us today. Thank you for being here. Together, we will explore the various dimensions, joys, challenges, and nuances that make friendship such a vital and enriching aspect of our lives. Feel free to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bertha. Wendy, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
So, how do you personally define friendship, Bertha?
I think for me, friendship is really about family. It's about people that are in your life that you can trust, that are there for you, and that accept the good and the bad and the ugly and everything wonderful about us and all the in between.
So, you have a group of lifelong friends. That
I
in
do.
itself is a blessing. In
hmm
your opinion, what makes for a strong and lasting friendship?
I mean, I am very fortunate. I have my group of friends that we've been friends since we were since high school. And I think for us, um, we just don't have expectations on each other. Um, it's one of those friendships that we all respect each other's lives and how busy we are. I mean, we have kids, we have families. So, if I don't hear from my friend for a couple of weeks or a month, like when we talk, it's like it was like yesterday. Like there's no expectations on that. Like we don't get mad at each other if maybe I might message somebody and she doesn't message me back. I get it. Sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
you're busy, you have kids, and it's not that you don't want to engage or you don't care. It's just that sometimes life gets in the way. But I think for my group of friends, we just love each other and respect each other, that it's okay. Like it's never been a big thing for us. And we do make it a point. We try really, really hard to get together for those like significant dates. We just had our girls' Christmas. This was last weekend, and we've been doing girls' Christmas since we were 15 years old.
Mhm.
Um, and it's something that we're super committed to. Like we don't care what is going on. We always get together. We celebrate. We try and celebrate each other's birthdays. It doesn't always work out, but when we've needed each other, we're always there. But at the same time, we don't put these crazy expectations on each other. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's made our friendship so easy, and
Mhm.
maybe why it's lasted for so long.
So you just touched on how, things change because people have other commitments and they have a life, right? So do you feel that friendships change and evolve over time as people transition into different stages of their lives?
Absolutely. And I do think
Yeah.
sometimes, I mean, I can speak for myself. There certainly have been friendships that, and it's not to say that I don't have love for them, or I don't think, fondly of them, but sometimes you just outgrow each other.
Yeah.
You outgrow each other. Um, Maybe your morals are different or your values are different. Um, I think I can only speak for myself. I try not to carry like hate in my heart or
Yeah.
resentment in my heart, but absolutely, I do think that there's certain people sometimes, and it's sad, but you do outgrow them.
Okay. And I've heard you say in the past that friends can also be like soulmates. Do you still agree with that?
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. I definitely have some friends. You are definitely one of them that I would consider a soulmate. It's
Hmm.
just people that you vibe with, it's people that you connect with that understand you. Sometimes they just have to look at you. You don't even have to say anything, and they just know how you're feeling. You're just so in tune with them.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my partner, I love Doug very much, but
We
I
love
would
him.
be
Yes.
but I would be lying to you if, you know I I don't know. I see some people and it's like their, their husbands or their partners are their everything.
Yeah.
And I've never been like that. It doesn't
Mm.
matter, who I've been with. I was married in the past.
Mhm.
Um, but my friendships mean so much to me. And like, my friends and I will send each other little memes like, when you grow old together, it's like, oh, maybe we should get a house together and like we can grow old together. Um,
Mm.
but I for me personally, I do think that there are certain friendships that are definitely they are your soulmates in life.
Yeah. And in what ways do friendships contribute to mental well-being?
I mean, I think for myself, it plays a huge role.
Yeah.
I love my family, but my friends are my escape. My
Yeah.
friends are the ones that I can be silly with, that we get together and all we're doing, it's like those belly ache laughs that you just can't stop. And, I personally I feel like my friends, they fulfill my life. So, I love my family. I love my daughter. My daughter is my everything.
Yeah, I
Um,
do.
but my friendships are very important to me. And I think, um, as much as my life, my family, my child has shaped my life and who I
Mhm.
am, my friends have also played a role in that.
Yeah, yeah. And they've been there with you, right? Through your ups and downs and
Oh my gosh,
all the different
I
stages of our lives, right?
I feel sometimes like if one of them wrote a book, I could be in trouble. Maybe we'd all be in trouble. Um, but yeah, I mean, my friends have been there through everything. I mean,
Mhm.
the literally the birth of my child, Wendy, you were there in the
Mhm.
hospital when I was in
Mhm.
labor. Like my first marriage, my divorce, heartbreaks, like my friends have been through it all. They have literally picked me up off the floor when I felt like my world was crumbling. And
Mhm.
um, I think sometimes,
And we've all had those moments, by the way.
oh Lord, my God. And I think sometimes, there's certain things that happen in your life that, I mean, Wendy, you have a really strong mom. I have a really strong mom. And there's certain, situations that, you go through that you almost can't share those emotions with your family.
Yeah.
Whether it's you have the pride, like we're Latin and Latin women, we're raised to be like, you can't cry for a man, you can't show weakness, you can't cry in front of your kids.
Yeah.
And we do it, right? Like in your pride, you have so much pride,
Yeah.
which is, a good trait in some ways. But with your friends, you can be vulnerable, you can cry, you can share those emotions that you don't necessarily feel comfortable sometimes sharing with your family.
For sure, for sure. So you're an all-star at this, but how do you balance different types of friendships in your life? Because everybody has different needs, right? How do you think you've been able to balance that?
I think sometimes it's just being in tune with your friends' needs.
Yeah.
um I think we're all different, we all need different things. And I have certain friends that sometimes they need a little bit more. And
Yeah.
I'm just conscious to try and give them that. I know it's not perfect, and maybe sometimes I could probably do a better job at reaching out. But I know that there's certain, I have certain friends that, whether it's just what they're going through in life or it's their personality, that sometimes they just need a little bit more TLC. So I
Yeah.
feel like maybe that's my responsibility to try and give them that. And then I have other friends that it's like, you know, they're just doing their thing,
They're
and I
just
can call
easy.
them like easy, and I can call them like once every 6 months or once every 4 months, and it's like nothing. Like we literally saw each other yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, can you recall a time when a friend crossed the line that made you question the dynamics of your relationship? You don't have to share
Yeah,
details, maybe just say,
I yeah, I mean, I think when you've been friends with people for so long, decades, like literally decades, there's going to be situations where maybe you felt disrespected or maybe you felt like they crossed the line. But I think for me at least, um when you've been friends with somebody for so long, it's not even just like that. It's just humans aren't perfect.
Yeah.
We're not perfect. We fuck up sometimes. We make
Yeah.
mistakes, and I know I'm not perfect, and I know I haven't always been a perfect friend. So, you know, who am I to judge sometimes? Like
Mhm.
I feel like when you're friends with somebody and you love them, then forgiveness plays a big role in that. And at least for me, um, it's not like anything's ever happened where, slept with my man or something where it was like, to that point where you're just like, okay, I can't be friends with this person. Um, but yeah, I think, when I love somebody, then I'm always going to give them that second opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, there are very few friendships where there has been a line crossed where I just felt like there was a point of no return. And in those situations, I can think of one. I'm sure, Wendy, you and I are thinking of the same thing, or exactly what I'm talking about. Um, I don't harbor any ill will. Like when I think of that person, I do think of them with love. I do
Yeah.
remember the good times. Um, and I wish them the best, but it just that friendship was toxic. At least for me. It was
Yeah.
toxic, and you know, we just kind of, reached that crossroads, and it just
Mhm.
couldn't be the same.
Yeah. So you just touched on that, but obviously there's been a time where you had to walk away from a friendship as much as it hurt you, since you're mentioning it. Was that the only option, you think?
I think at that time it was.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not to say that if like I were to see that person down the road that I wouldn't speak to them. I mean, fuck, maybe they wouldn't speak to me, right? But I mean, who knows? Um, but it's not that I wouldn't speak to them, but I feel like with that particular friendship, even before the situation happened,
Yeah.
um, I didn't necessarily agree with choices and
Right.
maybe the lifestyle that they were living. Um, but it was the situation that happened that I guess it forced both of our hands. You know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
one of those situations that, oh man, there just wasn't any turning back from that.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, I mean, again, like if I were to see that person, it's not like that I wouldn't speak to them. I just don't think we just have, I don't know. It's not even to say like we didn't have anything in common. We just grew apart. There was just
Yeah,
different,
totally.
it was a different path.
It happens. And I've heard people say, friendships sometimes are seasons or people come into your life
Yeah.
to serve a purpose, right? And I agree with you. I think that you have a big heart, and you're very forgiving. So I appreciate that about you. What are some strategies for making and maintaining friendships as adults?
Because we have families and jobs and, our kids and stuff, you do need to make that effort to keep in touch with your friends and to be there, whether it's just like sending them a little message on Instagram, like sending them a text, but trying, just trying.
Yeah, just being there. Okay, well, you just spoke about that too, but how has technology impacted the way you communicate? I know you just said sending them a text or a DM on Instagram.
I mean,
Um,
in some
Things
ways,
have
it's really
changed since we were growing up, right? Like,
definitely, definitely. I mean, God, in order to get a hold of you, if I had to call your parents' house, right? You have to like
yeah,
ask permission. Um, I think it's good and it's bad, right? Like there's
right.
definitely good and there's bad. I mean, the good thing is that, if you don't have time to be sitting on the phone for 30 minutes, you can send somebody a quick text. You can send them a joke on Instagram or on TikTok. And, um, but at the same time, sometimes you don't always talk where, back in the day, you were forced to have to call somebody and like sit on the phone. And, that obviously is a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
Um,
for sure.
However, with the technology, the good thing about it is that when you don't have time, it's still you still have options and opportunities to still stay connected. Like my bestie lives in Jersey, and back in the day, that would have been so hard, right? It would have been calling each other long distance, where now we FaceTime each other. We I get to see her kids.
Yeah.
We send each other voice notes. Like right now, we've been trying to schedule a phone date, and
Hmm.
her life right now is super hectic. Right now with me, work is super hectic. So we are sending each other voice notes. Like sometimes I have to actually open my Instagram. I think I have like 10 voice notes from her that I need to listen to.
Oh, goodness.
Um, I know. Um, but that's how we stay connected. We'll send each other little voice notes throughout the day and just keep each other like updated with what's happening.
Yeah, and to that, I think that there might be instances where you find out or see information on Instagram or
Mhm.
something about somebody, and you realize, oh, I didn't know that, right? Or I didn't know that person was on vacation, or I didn't know that that person got married, or right. So
Yeah.
yeah, it has its pros and its cons. Okay, so how can friends support each other during challenging times? You mentioned that you were divorced at one point.
Mhm.
Did you find that there were certain friends that maybe could have reached out a little bit more and been there more to support you during those times, or it didn't
I
really matter to you?
personally for me, no. I mean, the friends that like I would say my friends were really there for me. Um, I remember when the marriage initially broke down. Um, at the time I was living in Scarborough, and I actually lived like down the street from my best friend, or up the street from my best friend at the time, and my other who I actually call my soul sister, Coley. Um, she and I lived next door to each other, like in the buildings next door, and they were at my house every single day. Like they came to see me every day. They were there to make sure that like I had a shoulder to cry on. you know, um, I remember Cole coming to my house and like bathing Jelena, and like they just never left my side. And um, at that time, at that point in my life, I needed that. I needed the distraction. I just needed my friends to be there to just let me know that like, life
Everything was
life
going to
went
be
on.
okay.
Everything
Yeah.
was gonna be fine. Um, so I mean, personally for me, I feel like my friends were super supportive. And again, like, you know, everybody's a little bit different. And I think they know me very well. They knew that they know how I am. And there's certain times that like I needed their presence, but I didn't necessarily needed to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to discuss it. I just wanted them there.
Yeah.
And they always respected that. They never pushed me to have conversations that I wasn't ready to have. Um, if all I needed was a girls' night with some wine and laughter, then that's what they gave me. If I needed to, cry, then they just let me cry.
Hmm.
And I think when you're going through a breakup, you go through all the emotions, right? You're rational, you're irrational, you're sad, you're angry, and they just let me, just be a hot mess. And they just didn't, I just never felt judged about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then, when my divorce happened, they threw a divorce party. Like they threw a divorce party for me because, you know, I think sometimes we always celebrate like marriages, right? When people get engaged, when you get married, you always celebrate it. But some marriages are toxic, right? Like mine was toxic. So
Yeah.
um sometimes divorces aren't necessarily something that need to be it's not something that you should necessarily be sad about. Like maybe you're
Yeah.
sad in the moment, right? Like when
Of
you're going
course.
through it, but
Sure.
when you walk out of that and you have the clarity and you realize like fuck, this was the best thing that could have ever happened. Why not celebrate it? Like
Of course. Yeah.
so like why aren't we celebrating toxic relationships that end? So
Yeah.
I remember the girls like saying like let's go for dinner, and they had like a little divorce celebration, and I was like fucking yeah, like this is awesome. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you know I For me personally, I again, like I'm very fortunate to have had such a solid group of friends in my life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. What are some examples of traditions? You said the Christmas, the Christmas celebration you guys have, the yearly, the annual. Um, is there anything else that you find that's meaningful to you on a yearly basis?
I mean, we definitely try to get together for birthdays. We do our best, and I would say for the most part we succeed.
Hmm.
But Christmas is probably the one thing that it is done without a fail. We do it every year.
Yeah.
Um, but it's harder. I mean, like when we were younger, oh my God, birthdays, it was like birthday weekend. We were partying like Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Hmm.
But as you get older, it's a little bit harder, right? You can't always do that. Um,
Hmm.
but we will certainly try and at least go for dinner.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. We'll try and do dinners for birthdays, and then Nicole's usually pretty good at trying to get everybody together to do like little fun things. But yeah, I would just say Christmas is probably the one thing we've stuck to for sure.
Can you share a personal story of how a friendship has positively impacted your life?
Oh man.
I know you just mentioned, your whole divorce and how your friends were there for you. It could be outside of the group. It could be
I
somebody you work with.
I mean, you know what? I feel like I've had lots of friends that have positively impacted my life. I mean, I have some work friends that have really pushed me to expand and try harder and try and, climb that corporate ladder. Um, you know, I think for me, I think, the my close friendships, they all contribute something special to me.
Yeah.
Um, all my friendships are a little bit different. Um, and sometimes it's just I admire them. I admire how hard they try. Like, Wendy, I look at you and you were a mom at 16 and you did so much for your kids. Like you were a kid when you had your kid, when you had Tanya. But that didn't stop you. You worked so hard. My God, you would be going to school having two jobs, like trying to make ends meet. And I remember when I had my like Jelena, that was something that, when I would look at you and I remembered how hard you worked, like you never let anything stop you. You just never let life get you down. You never felt sorry for yourself. Like you never sat there and just like complained that, oh, life was so hard and you wanted to give up. And, you know, when I had Jelena, I mean, God, I didn't pick the greatest dad. Fuck. People are gonna think like I just like toxic man after toxic man. Okay. Fuck. Um,
We've all been there.
and God. And and I would remember how hard you worked and you just never felt sorry. You owned your shit. You just owned it. Whatever mistake you
Mm.
made, you owned it and you carried on. And I think for me that kind of influenced me when I had my daughter. Um, Not to make excuses. Just
Mm.
can't make excuses. You just gotta like you gotta deal with the cards that you have and you
Yeah.
gotta make the best of it.
Yeah, for sure. And we were there for each other. I know you were there for me so many times, and I can't thank you enough. Like, I love you so much. Um, what advice would you have for people looking to make new friends, especially at our age now?
Um, I think trying to be open. Like, I think as you get older, you're kind of set in your ways, right?
Yeah.
You like certain things, you don't like certain things. Um, but to make new friends, you got to have an open mind and you have to be kind of I think that's one thing with work friends that are kind of special because
Yeah.
you work with people that maybe if you had just met at a party or you met in a social setting, you wouldn't necessarily think this is anybody I have in common with. Um, but working with people really forces you to get to know individuals on a deeper level, right? Like, my
Of
God,
course.
sometimes you spend more time with your work family than you do with your own family.
Yeah.
Um, but it pushes you to get to know someone that you might not necessarily have things in common, or you maybe on first glance you think you don't have in common. But as you get to know them, you just are like, yeah, like I totally vibe with this person. Like maybe we don't necessarily have things in common. We don't listen to the same music. We didn't necessarily hang around the same type of crowds. Um, but you just admire what they bring to the table and you admire their qualities. So yeah, keep an open mind. Um, try new things. Like if you're trying to meet new people, go to a paint night. Try and join some sort of club. Like
Yeah.
try and join, whether it's like if you're into like boot camp, like join a boot camp, try and
Yeah.
get to meet people. Like I still keep in touch actually with some of the girls that I used to do boot camp with, because you're in an environment where you're kind of forced to get to know people, and then you're like, yeah, these people are mad cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you share some of the same um, interests, right?
Hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to play a little game.
Oh boy.
Um, yeah. So, just to close off this episode, give me your thoughts in relation to friendships when you hear these words. Okay.
Okay.
Companionship.
Someone to just spend time with, just someone that's there.
Okay. Camaraderie.
um being being aligned, like just being aligned and respectful, being supportive, I would say. Camaraderie, supportive.
Yeah. Alliance.
Loyalty.
Bond.
um my God, bond, it's a connection.
Yeah. Harmony.
Peace. like to me it's like an easy friendship, just a peaceful friendship.
Yeah. Unity.
That to me is a little bit of like a little bit of everything. So it's like companionship, it's loyalty,
Hmm.
it's just and like respect.
Solidarity.
um Again, that to me is like being loyal with someone, standing by them.
Yeah. Trust. That's a big one.
That is a big one, and I think that encompasses a little bit of everything. i
Hmm.
i think in order to be friends, you have to trust them with everything. You have to trust them with your life, with your secrets,
Hmm.
um and with with the ugliness that all of us have a little bit. We all got a little bit of ugliness inside.
We do. Yeah.
And um you got to trust. You For me, it's like my friends, I just trust being that I'm safe. I guess for me it's like I just feel safe to be myself.
Understanding.
um it's like compassion and empathy, um and just an understanding, just like being understanding of whatever situation is at hand.
Hmm. And affection. That's the last one.
Love,
Hmm.
just showing love. And everyone needs different types of affection.
Yeah.
um and it's just trying to be in tune to that, and being in tune to the people, like your friendships, like their needs.
Okay. Thank you, Bertha, for your sportsmanship and having this candid conversation with me.
Thank you for having
I
me. This
truly
was
appreciate
fun.
it. Yeah. Do you have any last words you want to share?
um I don't know about last words. I mean, I think this is a great topic.
You too.
And I think friendships, like especially as we get older, they're a little bit harder to navigate.
Yeah.
And I think as well sometimes, you know, as we get older, maybe we have a better understanding. I think when we're young, sometimes you take advantages of your friendships, and you don't feel like you need to necessarily make an effort. But as you get older, I think you have a better appreciation of how important your friendships are in your life and what they mean, like how meaningful they are.
Yes.
Like
So true.
that's one thing I've always told Jelena. You don't necessarily need a huge group of friends. All you need is one, two solid friends, like people that you know that are there for you, that love you. Um, and it's important. Like it's important to have friends in your corner. Um, I think sometimes as we get older and are in relationships, sometimes we get a little bit like you're so fixated on your relationship.
Yeah.
And I've always told my daughter as like, she's growing up and, she's in her own relationships, like you can't lose sight of yourself. You need
No,
to,
100%. And we've always talked about this, right? Like
yeah,
that you always have to have an identity outside of your
yes,
relationship, right?
yes. You need to have an identity. You need to have people, like your people, not just like, oh, when you're together, like everyone's like little couples and they have all their friends and stuff like that, or certain relationships where like every time they do something, it's like all the husbands or the boyfriends are always there. Like
Mhm.
I don't like that. Like fuck that shit. I don't want to hang out with just like my man and like just the guys and stuff. Like I love my girl time. I
Yeah.
love just being with my friends. Um and yeah, like they're part of you. They're the ones that like, you can just show a different side.
Oh,
And
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, like you just show a different side. And I don't know, like I personally, for me, and I love Doug. I love him very much. And he is my friend, but I love my girls. My girls mean so much to me. And, you know, I know for myself, I've been in a couple relationships and that's not what defines me. It's my friends, right? Like it's my friendships that, you know, fuck have kept me grounded
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
have,
Have kept it
called me at
real.
yes, like your friends keep it real and your
They do.
friends keep it real in a different way than your partner, right?
Um,
Like your partner can say stuff to you, whatever. It's not to say that they can't keep it real, but when your girls tell you, that's different.
It does. It
And
hits different.
it hits different, right? Because they know you. Like they
Hmm.
really know you. They know how your mind works.
Hmm.
And I've always appreciated that. Maybe I don't always appreciate it in the moment when I'm getting fucking called out for my shit, but I do appreciate it. And I think that is part of being a friendship, but like part of just being a friend is being able to look at your friend and being like, you're being fucking ridiculous right now. Like, you're
Hmm.
wrong in this situation. Like you
Hmm.
fucked up. Um, I mean, you've told me that, like, you fucked up, B, you fucked up. So, or sometimes your friends they just need to tell you, like,
Hmm.
you, this situation that you're in, this shit is fucked up. And I can't believe that you're putting yourself in this, or I can't believe like you need to stick up for yourself. Like this is wrong. Um, and I love that. Like
Yeah.
I love knowing that I have certain women in my corner, um, that are just there for me. And
Yeah,
um
they're warriors. They're
yeah, they're
and
just
each and I know your friends and I have an appreciation for your friends as well. Um, we've all been through our own stuff, but they
yeah,
are definitely warriors and they've always rided for you. I can say that.
yeah, they have, right? And
Hmm.
I have for them, like, like I
Yeah,
love
for
my
sure.
friends. I love them. I respect each one. I feel like each one brings something different to my life. Um, we all have different strengths and weaknesses. Um, and at the same time, like we know how to have a good time.
Yeah.
Like and one thing I love about them is that like, because we've been friends for so long, our kids have grown up together, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
my daughter calls you guys like you guys are her tias, you guys are her aunties, like,
Yeah.
and our kids consider themselves cousins. Like
Yeah.
that is how deep the roots are when it
Yeah.
comes to our friendships. And I love that. Like I love seeing Jelena interact or talk to her cousins. And it's like, it's not even blood, but that's how much we mean to each other that it's like, it's blood. For
Yeah.
me, it's like, it might as well just be your blood family.
Yeah.
They always say like family by choice. You can't
Mhm.
always choose your family, but my friends, it's like, I got to choose them.
There you have it, bloomers. In closing, let's celebrate the beauty of friendship and express gratitude for the meaningful connections we are blessed with that enrich our daily lives. Here's to the joy, support, and cherished moments that true friendships bring. As we bring today's episode to a close, we invite you to share your personal stories in the comments or through our social media channels. Your stories inspire us and help us grow together as a community of bloomers. Stay tuned for more exciting content, and until next time, keep blooming.